Hi guys, today we are going to wrap up section 4.3 by looking at factoring again. This time we're going to learn or look at how we can solve a polynomial by factoring. If you remember back in the quadratics unit, we learned that when we set a polynomial equal to 0 and factor it, then we find our solutions by setting our factors also equal to 0 and solving for x. So in this first example, x to the fifth minus 81x equals 0. I want to tell you that we should expect to find the number of solutions as that matches the degree. So in this case, we should have 5 solutions. Okay, when we look at this right here, we can pull out a GCF of x, which leaves us with x to the fourth minus 81 is 0. Now x to the fourth minus 81 is a difference of 2 squares. We can square root that. We'll still have our x. Now we'll have x squared plus 9, x squared minus 9. Okay. And then we'll have another difference of 2 squares here. So we'll have x squared plus 9. Those stay the same. Remember, you cannot factor x squared plus 9 because that's a sum. Then we'll have x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay. Now that's factored as far as it can go. And when I set these equal to 0, this guy will be x equals 0. This guy, if I say x squared plus 9 is 0, we'll subtract 9 from both sides, and we'll get x squared is negative 9. Then when we square root both sides, we'll get x equals plus or minus. Remember, the square root of a negative produces an I, and the square root of 9 is 3. Here we'll get x plus 3 is 0, so when we subtract 3, we get x is negative 3. And here we have x minus 3 is 0, so we'll add 3, so x is positive 3. Okay, I know I really wrote too big there. Okay, now if we count our solutions, we have 1, 2, 3, and this counts as 2 more, so 4, 5. Okay, over here, x cubed minus 27, that's a difference of cubes. Just as a review, our pattern for difference or sum of cubes is a squared, b squared. And our signs come from that acronym SOAP. Okay, now if we think about, to get x cubed, we cubed x. To get 27, we cubed 3. So we'll have x and 3. Then x squared, we square the first term, square or multiply the two together, 3 times x or x times 3 is 3x, and then square the last one to get 9. Now our original sign was negative, so this will be same, opposite, always positive. Now you may remember that this guy is not factorable. And so we're done with this guy. Now because this is equal to 0, we'll set our factors equal to 0. X minus 3 is 0. So x is 3. Okay, this guy is the quadratic formula. And we will solve that next week, or later this week actually. Okay, here 54x cubed minus 2. Okay, if I add that 2 over so that it's equal to 0, I'll have 54x cubed plus 2 is 0. Okay, now that's not a sum of cubes, but if I pull out a GCF of 2, I will get 20 27, sorry, x cubed plus 1. And that is a sum of two cubes. Okay, this guy is 3x. This guy would be 1. So I'll say 2 times 3x and 1. 3x squared will be 9x squared. 3x times 1 is 3x, and 1 squared is 1. Same, opposite, always positive. So just like that last one, the only one I can solve here is this 3x plus 1. If I subtract 1, I get 3x is negative 1. So x is negative 1/3. Okay, this guy would be a quadratic formula question. We'll do that at a later date. So the only one we can find right now is that x equals negative 1/3. Here, I'll shrink this guy down as well. Now over here, I need it to be set equal to 0, so I add that 25 to both sides, and I get 4x to the 4th plus 20x squared plus 25 is 0. Okay, I don't have a GCF here that I can pull out, so I'm just going to factor. Okay, my first two terms have to multiply to 4x squared, so I'll say 2x squared, and 2x squared. My last two terms have to multiply to 25, so maybe 5 and 5. Okay. So then to check, I FOIL my inside and my outside. Inside I get 10x squared, outside I get 10x squared. So that is 20x squared. So that works. Okay. Now to solve, I'm going to set these equal to 0. So 2x squared plus 5 equals 0. If I subtract 5, 2x squared is negative 5. Divide by 2. So x squared is negative 5 over 2. And we square root. Okay, now when we square root, we remember our plus or minus. We remember that I, and then we have the square root of 5 over 2. Okay, we could simplify that radical by rationalizing, but we didn't learn how to do that earlier in the year, so we are just going to stick with that as our answer. Okay. Now this guy right here, if I add the 16 over, I get x to the 8th plus 16 equals 0. Okay, now that's really tempting to say we can square root both, but we can't because this is a sum. Okay, this is a sum of squares. It's not factorable. And then finally over here, we subtract that 2. So x cubed plus 2x squared minus x minus 2 is 0. Now this is a factor by grouping. So I'm going to group my first two and my last two. With those first two, I can pull out an x squared, and I'm left with x plus 2. The last one, I pull out a negative 1, and I'm left with x plus 2. So then I pull together my GCFs, make x squared minus 1. Then I have my 1, x plus, 2. That comes down. Now hopefully we see that we can square root both of these, right? That'll get us x plus 1, x minus 1, and x plus 2. So now we set those equal to 0. This will get me x is negative 1. This will get me x is positive 1. This will get me x is negative 2. Okay? Okay, use those examples to help you do these 6 exit ticket questions. If you're in class, ask questions tomorrow if you need any help.